The heist inside the heist, the crew. The first rule of a successful heist is simple: never trust anyone. I learned that rule too late. But by the time I realized it, the plan was already in motion. And by then, someone inside our crew had already planned a second robbery. One none of us even knew about. A heist inside the heist. My name is Victor Kane. For most of my life, I made money doing things most people wouldn't dare attempt. No petty theft, no convenience store robberies. I specialized in something much bigger: strategic theft, the kind that required patience, precision, and months of planning. You see, most criminals fail because they rush. They see money and they act immediately. But real professionals? We study, we wait. We plan every single detail until failure becomes almost impossible. And the job I was planning last year was supposed to be my masterpiece. The biggest score of my career. The Dominion Reserve Vault. If you've never heard of it, that's because it's designed to stay out of the spotlight. Dominion isn't a regular bank vault. It's where powerful people hide the things they don't want anyone else to see. Politicians, corporate executives, international investors, they all stored assets there. Diamonds, gold, encrypted drives, confidential documents. Millions, sometimes billions in traceable wealth. And the building protecting it looked like a fortress. 3 layers of biometric security. Military-grade reinforced steel vault doors. Laser motion sensors that could detect the slightest movement, and a security team that rotated shifts every 4 hours. On paper, it was impossible to rob. But nothing is impossible if you study it long enough, and I had been studying Dominion for 12 months. Every morning I parked across the street in a coffee shop with a clear view of the building. At first glance, it looked like any other financial office tower. Glass exterior, busy lobby, security guards at every entrance. But the real protection was underground, 3 levels below street level. That's where the vault was located. Getting inside required multiple layers of authorization. Retina scans, keycards, encrypted passcodes. Even the guards didn't have full access. No single person could open the vault alone. At least, that's what they believed. But every system has a weakness. You just have to find it. And after months of watching that building, I found the one thing Dominion couldn't control: human behavior. Because security systems may be perfect, but people make mistakes, and that's where the real opportunity lives. The first person I recruited for the job was Lena Park. If you're planning to break into a place protected by digital systems, you need someone who understands computers better than the people who designed them. Lena was that person. She used to work as a cybersecurity consultant for major corporations. Then one day she realized something. Breaking security systems paid a lot more than protecting them. The first time I met Lena, she was sitting in a dim bar with 3 laptops open in front of her. "Victor Kane," she said, without even looking up. "You're 10 minutes late," I smiled. "And you already hacked my phone 8 minutes ago." That's when I knew she was perfect. Lena didn't just understand security, she enjoyed dismantling it. Our next recruit was Carlos Mendoza. If Lena handled digital systems, Carlos handled physical obstacles, walls, doors, structural weaknesses. Carlos had spent years working demolition for construction companies. He understood buildings the way Surgeon Naftandan asked me. Show him a blueprint, and he could tell you exactly where to apply pressure to make something collapse or open. The third member of the crew was Derek Shaw. Every heist needs someone who can disappear quickly. Derek was the best driver I'd ever seen. He knew every alley, shortcut, and back road in the city. Police could block every main street, and Derek would still find a way out. The last piece of the team was the most important. The inside man, Marcus Reed. Marcus worked as a security systems technician inside the Dominion building. He had access to maintenance schedules, camera networks, and security protocols. Without him, getting near the vault would have been impossible. Marcus was quiet, calm, the kind of guy who never said more than necessary. At first, I wasn't sure I trusted him, but Lena vouched for him. "He's clean," she told me. Financial problems, though. Debt, big debt. People with debt are predictable. They need money. And when someone needs money badly enough, they're willing to take risks. So Marcus joined the crew. Once the team was assembled, we began planning the job. For 3 months, we met in an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. The place smelled like rust and old gasoline. But it gave us privacy. Every wall was covered in diagrams, security schedules, building blueprints, camera layouts, every detail of Dominion's infrastructure. Carlos spent hours studying the structure of the vault, level. Eventually, he pointed to a section of the blueprint. "There's a maintenance corridor behind this wall," he said. "No cameras, that's our entry point." Meanwhile, Lena mapped the digital systems. "The cameras run on a closed network," she explained one night. "But if I can access the maintenance server, I can loop the footage for about 6 minutes. 6 minutes? Derek asked. "That's all we need," I said. "Because the key to a perfect heist isn't time. It's timing." Marcus eventually discovered something critical. Every Saturday at 2 a.m., the building performed a routine system diagnostic. During that time, certain sensors temporarily switched to maintenance mode, just for a few minutes. A tiny window of vulnerability, but if we timed everything perfectly, it would be enough. That's when the plan finally came together. At exactly 2 a.m., Marcus would initiate the maintenance cycle that would disable a portion of the vault's motion sensors. At the same time, Lena would remotely loop the security cameras. Carlos would breach the maintenance corridor. We would enter the vault, grab the target boxes, and leave before the systems reactivated. 6 minutes, that's all we had. But it was enough. Over the next several weeks, we rehearsed everything, every movement. Every second, if someone dropped a bag during rehearsal, we restarted. If someone hesitated, we restarted. Because once the real night arrived, there would be no second chances. But during those long nights of preparation, I began noticing something strange. Marcus was always watching quietly, observing everything. No. Nervous, no. Excited, just. Calculating. At the time, I assumed he was worried about getting caught. After all, if the job failed, he'd be the first suspect. But later, I realized something else. Marcus wasn't worried. He was preparing. Because while the rest of us were planning the biggest robbery of our lives, Marcus had already started planning something else. Something none of us saw coming. A second operation. A hidden agenda. A plan that would turn our perfect heist into something very different. And by the time we realized what he had done, it would already be too late. The heist inside the heist, the plan gets dangerous. If you spend enough time planning a crime, something strange happens. At first, it feels impossible. Then slowly, it begins to feel inevitable. That's exactly what happened with the Dominion job. By the 4th month of planning, the vault no longer felt like a fortress. It felt like a puzzle. And piece by piece, we were solving it. Every night, our warehouse war room grew more detailed. Lena printed network diagrams that looked like spider webs of encrypted connections. Carlos filled entire walls with structural sketches. Derek mapped escape routes across half the city. And Marcus kept feeding us information from inside Dominion. Camera maintenance schedules, security guard patrol rotations, system update windows. Every detail made the plan stronger. But there was one thing Marcus hadn't told us yet. The real reason Dominion Reserve existed. One night, Marcus arrived later than usual. His expression was different. No, nervous, but focused. Like someone who had just discovered something important. He placed a thin folder on the table. "You all need to see this." Carlos leaned forward. "What is it?" Marcus opened the folder. Inside were copies of security reports and vault inventory logs. No, the official ones, the internal ones. The kind that weren't supposed to leave the building. Lena studied the documents carefully. Then her eyebrows slowly lifted. "This isn't just a private vault," she said quietly. Marcus nodded. "It's something much bigger." I looked down at the documents. Some of the names listed there were powerful, extremely powerful, government officials, corporate executives, foreign investors, people who had enough money to hide fortunes. But what really caught my attention were the descriptions of certain boxes. One entry read, Box 718- Encrypted Financial Archive, another, Box 511 2D, Private Asset Transfer Records, and another one, Box 239 Fun-In, International Holdings Documentation. These weren't jewelry boxes, they were secrets. The kind of secrets that could destroy careers, or make someone incredibly rich. Derek leaned back in his chair. "So, we're not just robbing a vault," he said. "We're robbing the people who run the city." "Exactly," Marcus replied. For a moment, the room was quiet. Then Carlos laughed. "Good," he said. "Rich people make the best victims. But I noticed something strange. Marcus wasn't smiling. In fact, he seemed almost uninterested in the valuables themselves. Like the money wasn't the real focus. At the time, I ignored the feeling, because the job itself was already complicated enough. Our target list eventually narrowed down to 12 boxes, each one belonging to someone powerful enough to hide massive wealth, but quiet enough to avoid reporting it stolen. Diamonds, rare coins, gold, certificates, encrypted hard drives. If everything went right, we would leave the vault with at least $20 million in assets, and that was just the conservative estimate. But pulling it off required perfect timing. Marcus walked us through the internal schedule again. Every Saturday night, the building runs a diagnostic cycle, he explained. During that process, certain motion sensors briefly deactivate. For how long? Derek asked. Marcus glanced at his watch. 6 minutes. Carlos whistled. That's tight. No, if we move fast, I said. Lena nodded. I can loop the camera feeds for exactly that long. That's all we need. For weeks we practiced the operation like a military drill. Entry, vault access, target box extraction. Exit, 6 minutes. Every second mattered. If someone hesitated, the entire job would collapse. One mistake could trigger alarms that would lock down the entire building. But despite the pressure, the team was solid. Carlos became faster with the cutting equipment. Lena optimized the camera loop system. Derek memorized 3 separate escape routes. Marcus continued feeding us insider information. Everything was coming together, but something about Marcus still bothered me. It was small things. Tiny details. He sometimes asked questions that didn't make sense, like one night when he asked Lena if someone wanted to erase security logs completely, could they? Lena shrugged. Technically, yes, but it would take admin-level access. Marcus nodded thoughtfully, just curious. Another time he asked Derek, if police showed up early, what's the fastest way out? Derek laughed. You planning something? Marcus didn't answer. He just smiled slightly. Looking back now, that should have been the warning. But when you're planning a big score, your focus narrows. You stop seeing the little things. You only see the goal. And our goal was the Dominion Vault. 6 months after we started planning, the night finally arrived. Saturday, 2 a.m. The city outside was quiet. Most people were asleep, but inside our warehouse, the crew was preparing for the biggest moment of our lives. Carlos checked his cutting tools for the 3rd time. Lena ran final diagnostics on her laptop. Derek paced back and forth, rolling his shoulders like an athlete before a race. Marcus sat quietly in the corner, scrolling through his phone. I looked at the clock. 1:15 a.m., 45 minutes to go. Everyone ready? I asked. Carlos grinned. I was ready 2 months ago. Derek cracked his knuckles. Let's get rich. Lena didn't say anything. She just closed her laptop and looked at me. I can hold the camera loop for 6 minutes, she said. No, 7-6 is enough. Marcus finally stood up. Then we should go. The drive to Dominion took 15 minutes. No one talked much during the ride. That's normal before a job. Everyone runs through the plan in their head. Every step, every movement, every possible problem. When we finally parked 2 blocks away, the building looked quiet. Just another office tower in the dark, but underneath it was the most secure vault in the city. Marcus checked his watch. 1:58 a.m. 2 minutes, he said. Lena opened her laptop. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Derek started the engine. Carlos adjusted the strap on his equipment bag, and I watched the building. Waiting, Marcus sent a message through the internal maintenance system. System entering diagnostic mode. Inside the building, sensors began shutting down. Exactly as planned. No, Lena whispered. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. I've got the cameras. Carlos opened the van door. Let's move. We slipped into the building through the maintenance entrance Marcus had unlocked earlier. The hallway was silent. Emergency lights cast long shadows across the floor. Marcus led the way down a narrow staircase toward the underground levels. 1 floor down, 2 floors 3. The air grew colder as we approached the vault corridor. Carlos reached the maintenance wall we had studied for months. This is it. He pulled out the cutting tool. The machine hummed softly as it sliced through the metal panel. 30 seconds later, the panel dropped quietly to the floor. Behind it was the service corridor, our hidden path. Lena checked her watch. 3 minutes left. We moved quickly. The vault door stood at the end of the corridor like a massive steel wall. Carlos went straight to work, another cutting tool, another humming vibration. Sparks flickered in the darkness. Then suddenly, the locking mechanism snapped open. The door slowly creaked aside. Inside were rows of safety deposit boxes stretching across the room. Thousands of them. Carlos laughed softly. Jackpot. But Marcus wasn't looking at the gold or the diamonds. He was staring at one specific row, box 718. And for just a moment, I noticed something strange in his expression. No excitement. No greed. Something else, something colder. Like a man who had already won a game. No one else realized they were playing.
But the story isn't over yet. What happened next changed everything. And the most shocking twist is still coming. In the next video, you'll discover what really happened after the heist collapsed, who ended up with the stolen secrets, and the unexpected fate of the man who betrayed everyone. Make sure you're subscribed and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2 of this story. Trust me, the next chapter is even more unbelievable. Again, I'm sure this story kept you on the edge of your seat. Then you're going to love what's coming next. This channel is packed with mind-blowing betrayal stories, shocking revenge plots, and unbelievable twists that will keep you hooked from start to finish. Like this video, comment below. But you see Marcus's betrayal coming. What do you think will happen at the Olisenko? Do know, forget to subscribe to this channel.